30, 40 or 50 feet, something crazy like that.
Right,
And then
yeah.
I just thought that is just unreal. Watching it as a kid, I was scared for him. So, but yeah, that was crazy. And then I think getting into the business more, I would say I started watching guys like Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, all different things that that I noticed that I didn't notice before. Like, as a kid, I never considered Shawn Michaels to be one of my favorite wrestlers, but then becoming a wrestler and watching his work more, you start to appreciate it a lot. So just little things that he does, and you can just learn so much from just one match. And that's not just him; that's everyone. I think one of the big ones in the UK is Pete Dunne. I think his work is outstanding, whether it was before he got signed or even now. He is very different to a lot of people. So he was one of those people that I took a lot of inspiration from as well.
Yeah, no, that's some good names there that have come out from what you said, especially about Jeff Hardy, who's many people's these days. I find that odd just because of my age. And I think if I'd have taken any inspiration from the video game era that I was in, like WrestleQuest, I'd probably have given myself a good chance of getting in with those kind of limited moves back then, which was mainly punches and hip throws for the bulk of it. But amazing. Obviously, like the UK wrestling scene as it is at the moment, like how have you found that being on the circuit? And like to me personally, looking at it from my point of view, like working as press at shows, I've never seen it as busy as this ever. Just the amount of promotions, but not just the amount of promotions, but the professionalism behind it, like the way it's ran. Like I think before, I've told this story many times, I would turn up at a show and there'd be like no ring, a crashed mat, and two guys coming out that even I look like I could take. You know, it's like
I honestly wish I could say that sounded uncommon.
But yeah, I mean, today, how is it for you being on the circuit and like dealing with the different promoters? Is it a good time to be a wrestler, do you think, in the UK?
I think right now is a great time. Was it a better time to start maybe a few years ago? Maybe, I'm not sure. But I mean, you can excel to the top faster than others. It might take you a longer time. It all depends. But I always think there's never a better time to start something than now. If you really want to do something, then you'll do it. So I think it's a good time to get into it. And I think right now the scene is way more professional than it was maybe 5-6 years ago. It was just so different. Like right now, I think there's opportunities for everyone on the scene. Like you will get booked somewhere, I imagine. So there's always a better time to start, but right now I just think is a great time. I think there's no better time than right now. So that's a really big thing. But the scene has changed a lot. Like a lot of people think that the big boom was when the UK tournament came, but I think the boom was before then. Well, I think the initial boom started before then with guys like, I think Progress and RevPro and OTT, all those places had quite a big platform for people worldwide to look at UK wrestling, and it was Progress that I started watching a lot more, and they had guys like Marty Scurll, Will Ospreay, Pete Dunne, Zack Sabre Jr., loads of guys that I thought, okay, you know what, the UK could be something now, because before you wouldn't really if you really look at the WWE roster, there's very few people who made it from the UK, like very few. Wade Barrett, Joel Redman, Oliver Gray. There wasn't many that were coming out of the UK. Maybe the odd 3 or 4, and then when the WWE tournament happened, and they saw the talent that was put on both those nights, which are both incredible, by the way. You could see then that there was a market for British wrestling, and I think a lot of the UK do have to thank guys like Will Ospreay, Marty, Pete, Tyler, Trent. Just for giving us the boom period, but then also creating so many jobs that there is now. So I don't know of many people who were full-time wrestlers in the UK without being contracted. There was maybe a few like El Ligero and a few others, but I think now there's so much more independent work in the UK, but also more chance to get a contract. So it's just really good all round.
Yeah, it's thriving. I mean, I when I was a fan and I first started to watch British wrestling, which I really didn't when I was growing up, I just felt there was no such thing other than all-star wrestling that would come around about twice a year, and who are still going to this day, by the way, which is incredible.
Yeah, they are.
They were actually celebrating 50 years this year, so
it's incredible.
An amazing achievement from Brian Dixon and the rest. But other than that family market side of it, I did not really know about anything else until I come across the old FWA. And of course, they were pretty much set up in like Bethnal Green, York Hall, and I'd travel up there and, watch these stars like Doug Williams, Jody and Johnny, and these guys are still around today. It's absolutely amazing. Where you think that the business has come from. But that was pretty much it. I mean, that was like the hub, and then that kind of finished, and those guys kind of went off in different directions, and there was this sort of gap for a long time where there just wasn't anything coming around. But as you said earlier about Progress, they established something and an identity, I think, that no one else had seemed to be able to do. Like Rev Pro's done it as well, and just establishing that their own identity, and rather than kind of like looking at everything else within the business and trying to copy bits here and there. What was cool about them is the fact that they, actually created their own thing, own roster of wrestlers.
Yeah.
And I think the big thing there was not using as many foreign talent like from the States, because that would always be the
that was a really big thing.
Yeah, that was massive. And I remember one promotion in particular. I think there was that magazine company. Is it 1PW? I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They were famous for that. The whole thing was filled up with American stars, and they put on shows. But in the sense of like forward thinking, it was never really going to have much future in it. Just never sort of having the UK guys and somewhere for them to work. But yeah, it's amazing the amount of talent, the amount of promotions that are available, and also I think the fans that are out there that really want an alternative, want to go and watch something different, and have their own kind of, it's almost like a territory system.
Absolutely.
Almost the way things are set up. And I, as I've said many times, my sort of favourite genre in wrestling is sort of the late 60s to all of the 70s territory times, where everything was very much in their own sort of world, and guys would travel around and they'd work different styles, different characters, and learn a piece at each territory that they went to, and come in quite hot. And I kind of feel that's how we've got it set up in the UK at the moment. Very, very similar. Obviously, you mentioned a few of the names in the UK. Like, who've been some of your best opponents and people that you like wrestling the most? Who've been some of those people and matches that you've enjoyed so far?
Oh, there's just so many. Oh god,
putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, I've got to think a little bit now. I would say, okay, I've got to name a few guys right now. For sure, one of the best ones I've ever wrestled is Pete Dunne. He's just incredible. Like, I think that goes without me saying anything. But other guys like Sean Custom, Niwa. I've had like various multi-man matches, which I'd love to have like singles matches with people as well. Like guys like the OJMO, Visage is one of them. And I think one really underrated talent is Joey Scott. He works. He works like various places as well, but he's one person I just look at. I'm like, you need to be in like so many more places. So he was a big factor, I think, as well, for because the UK scene is like, I think people primarily think of it as like Progress, Repro, and OTT, although they were very, very big they had a very big hand in creating the boom period. I think the talent goes very, very deep in the UK, and that's there's promotions like Good Wrestling, Wrestling Resurgence. That's like a really big one, I think. Riptide, and another one called Full Force Wrestling, and guys, workers like Joey Scott, Killian Jacobs, all those kind of people, I think, are responsible for some of the UK talent in general, because although you may not have heard of them, that's just how deep the UK talent goes. So it's I think it's incredible. So those are two guys that I really enjoyed working. Just trying to think of some others now. There's just it's insane how many there is.
Someone will be texting you.
Yeah, like, why did you not mention me?
That's normally what happens.
Yeah, there's loads of people though, like guys in Scotland as well. I wrestled a guy called Kieran Kelly, and he's very good as well. I think he works ICW and a load of other places like that. But yeah, there's just so much talent everywhere. It's incredible.
Now, we spoke about earlier, like, about the wrestling you grew up on. Today, like, where is your fix for wrestling? Do you watch WWE? Are you not a WWE person, and you watch other stuff, like, or do you not watch any at all? Because the most fascinating thing I find with wrestlers, and a lot of them, like, I was in the car with, before this happened, we do a lot of drive-alongs with him. It's Paul Robinson, and I'm like, have you been watching? He's like, no, I don't watch that. I never watch it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys that just don't watch anything. It's really odd, but I guess there's a method to it. But where are you in all that?
So I'll be honest, I don't particularly enjoy watching wrestling for long periods of time. Right. I can easily watch it live. I love watching it live, whether it's an independent show, whether it's a New Japan show, a WWE show. I love watching it live. I can do that all day. But to watch it on TV, I do struggle a little bit more now, because I find my mind constantly trying to analyze, and it gets kind of annoying to a degree, because I'm like, I sometimes I do just want to sit and watch it, but then other times I question, why did they do that? What can I learn from this? I feel like I'm wasting time if I'm not analyzing this match. So it kind of gets a little bit annoying, but I do have odd moments where I will sit down and watch a whole WWE show, and I do still enjoy it, but I can't sit and watch a whole pay-per-view in one night anymore. I have to watch it over the space of a few days. But
I mean, the amount of wrestling that's on telly is crazy anyway.
Yeah, there's loads. I would say from a fan perspective, I'll watch WWE a lot. I will watch NXT UK to learn and NXT to learn, but if I'm going to watch as a fan, that would be the first WWE would be the first place I go to. But I watch a lot of Michinoku Pro from like 1996 and things like that. That's just for me. That's just for me to learn, and the old Joshi period as well. I find a lot of odd wrestling as well. Like I found it was an Argentinian promotion. It's called roughly translated, it's called Titans of the Ring. But I was going to attempt to do it, to do the exact show, and I was like, no, I can't do it.
I was waiting for
it. But just loads of things like that. There's just, as you said, there's just so much wrestling out there right now to watch. But it's really good for fans, I think. There's just, because right now there's everything being put out.
No, totally. I think that also, like, I know, like, what you were saying about watching wrestling, and I guess for a wrestler, you watch it with a different hat now. You're analysing things that you wouldn't normally have done. But however, saying that, when I talk to a lot of guys, I'm like, actually, that's not far from today's kind of wrestling fan, because I think the way that, like, when I was kind of watching it as a kid, I was watching it mainly for the show, and for many years after that, I was watching it for just the show. And I'd go to a live event, and the atmosphere was totally different. If I go to a WWE show now, which I went to one very recently, oh my God, you've got analysis squad behind you. They're just going to tell you everything that's going to happen, that should happen, and facts, and
I know what you mean.
I'm like, okay, this is different. Like, we're not watching it for what it is anymore. And I don't know if that's society or just also the way a wrestling fan today, especially in WWE, has been educated.
Yeah.
And I